What's going on? You're here with Nate28 and this is Crossbeats production. So I want to start a small series on my channel, and the series is called Simple Secrets to Mixing. And basically what I'm going to do is go through different things that I use within my mix, mainly through, I guess, processing and things like that, and just techniques that I use to, help or eliminate issues in my mix. So basically, I just want to say thanks to you guys, because I have a lot of you guys that are reaching out to me now and just emailing me and stuff like that. And I really appreciate you guys sticking around and just being a part of this channel. And when you show this channel love, obviously it does help me to produce more and more videos for you guys and just to create more and more good content. So first off, what I want to do was talk about how you get a good mix. So generally, the first thing that comes to mind when mixing any project is obviously having good sounds. Now, obviously having good sounds is something so simple to say, but sometimes it's not something that people really pay attention to, and it's really crucial when you're trying to make a good beat in your, say for example, Studio One or any DAW for that choice if you're watching this from any other DAW like Logic, Pro Tools, etc. So I mean, when I produce beats, mainly I do everything electronically. I don't have a whole lot of acoustic instruments that I even play. I do have a guitar, but haven't picked that up for a while, and let alone know how to play it anymore, probably anyway. So basically when I'm doing a lot of stuff, obviously the instruments are pre-recorded, and some of the stuff that you get, obviously you can't do too much with. Once you've got it, it's in the VST, you're playing with that instrument as a VST. So bear in mind, the VSTs that you use will affect the way that your sound comes out in the end. So obviously if you're not using raw instruments and recording them with a microphone, then you're limited to picking from what the VSTs are available in your arsenal. So first off, that is one thing I want to bring to your attention to get a good mix. Now, it's so simple to say that, like I said, but you have to understand that in your mixing process that is crucial to getting the sounds that you want, the sounds sitting right in the mix, and also just a generically good sound. So the next thing then I'll bring to your attention as well is EQ. Now, a lot of people use EQ and they use it differently, and there's probably no actual rule of thumb when you're using an EQ in your mix as far as, EQing instruments and stuff like that. You can do whatever the heck you want to do with an EQ. But mainly EQs are there as a volume dial for frequencies in essence. So if you're thinking about, for example, a piano, which I've got a piano track in this particular beat, and I was looking at the EQ. So I'll just bring out this EQ and I'll show you the sort of stuff that I've got going on. So normally what I do is reductive things first. Now you can see there's a bit of a boost here, which is somewhere in the 5K area, and I'll explain that in just a minute because it's kind of crucial to why I did it and things like that. So the first things I did, if I just show you, I'll just take off this other EQ here and I'll just show you this main EQ that we've got going on. So the stock EQ, which you guys are all accessible to, and you have this on your Studio One, regardless of Studio 1, 3, and 2 and 3, whatever. I'm sure they're all the same EQ. But basically what I did first off when I was EQing this piano, so I'll just play this piano to you just so you can hear it and just understand what's going on. So first off, let's play the piano. Okay, so basically, as you could see with the piano, what I'm going to do is to show you a screenshot that I just took of some of the peaks. So I just took this screenshot to show you guys kind of what I'm talking about with the piano. So I had this kind of low-ish kind of volume, somewhere around about -24. And as you can see here on the spectrum here that I took a screenshot of, basically that spectrum is pretty much showing you the peaks of where the peaks are actually coming in on that piano. So I'll just actually go back to that screenshot so you can see it. So basically the peaks are kind of showing there on the piano, and I didn't eliminate all of them when I did the EQ, but I tried to eliminate some of the peaks so that they weren't sticking out in the mix. Now obviously some of these peaks that are coming through are one of two things. It could be potentially where you've played the MIDI in, and some of the MIDI notes on this MIDI, I'll just go and have a look at the MIDI to be exact as well, but some of the MIDI notes that you see here, they're pretty much all at the same velocity for the most part. But then you've got some MIDI notes down here which are at a higher velocity. I've actually muted those out so I didn't have them because they were bass notes that I didn't really need in the end. and I just left it as kind of like this arpeggiator type thing going on. But you know, if you're looking at the way that the piano is played and the way that the notes sound, you can see here at a certain part of the piano the notes increase in volume and the velocity increases. So if that's happening, you've got to have something to control that in the sense of EQ or compression. So the way that I usually control certain things like that is one of two things. Like you could see on the EQ that I had there, I had the main EQ that dipped out some of this, you know, that mid-range frequency kind of at the 500 hertz, which generally anyway on some instruments doesn't sound good. Some instruments it does. You may not need to remove it out on every time, and I kind of get it because sometimes people think, oh, they hear 500 and they think, oh, that's the bad frequency, need to remove that out. That's not always the case. Sometimes 500 hertz sounds great and you don't want to remove it out, but then again, you know, it may not sit in your mix if it's in there. So for the most part, when you're EQing certain things and if you're going through the EQ process, what you're trying to do is get your EQ to allow certain things to sit in the mix so that they sit there right. It may not be that you're EQing an instrument if it's just a piano on its own with a drum kit that you would even need to EQ a certain part of the piano out. But sometimes you just want that sound and you just need to EQ a certain fraction of it out so it sounds good. As you can see here, I've got a bit of a low shelf kind of filter going on. Also, I guess it's a high pass. So it allows some of the frequency at the bottom to be removed out, which I didn't need in the end. And the way I decided on that was basically using my 808 as the reference point. So my 808, when I play that, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about, because it does have a section where they overlap and they intervene with each other. So let me just play the piano and the 808 and just show you guys what I'm talking about. So I'll just bring up this EQ, and I'll bring up an EQ that was on the 808 as well, and just show you the two together. Let's go. Okay, so let me just see what it sounds like without either of the EQs on there. Just play it again. Let's go. That's pretty cool, because I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I can definitely hear it here. Some stuff got brighter, like the piano got brighter and the low end frequency was removed, and the 808 kind of just felt like it just came into its own space, and it was actually very, very well placed. It didn't really take too much time to kind of fiddle around with it to get it right and sit these two instruments together. But the main thing is, you know, if you're thinking about your particular track, the 2 or 3 elements that you have in your beat are the things that should be really sticking out, and you should never really have more than, you know, 1 or 2 elements that are the main features of the track going on at one time. So for example, if you've got drums, you've got your kick, your snare and hi-hats, or whatever you've got going with the drums, and they alone will take up a lot of the frequency spectrum just by themselves. So if you're thinking about that, then you've only got a little bit more that you can add into the, I guess, the sparseness that's left over in the mix, or the spectrum I should say, to allow certain things to sit in the mix. So what I would recommend if you're mixing and you're trying to get things to sit all in the right spot, just take out some of the instruments and just think about what are the vital parts of your mix so that you can work around those vital parts, and then try and get them to sit in the mix right on their own, and then add in the other things that bring the extra feature to your track. Because, you know, if you're adding them in later, then you can obviously fit them in a space that they sit right in, and you can kind of work around just by using EQs, using a shelf or a high shelf or a low shelf to work around where they should sit. So let me just give you an example as well of the kick and the snare, because I've done a few little things with the kick and the snare in this particular track that are mainly EQ stuff. So as you can see, kind of with the low end stuff with the kick, I've removed out mainly all the top and left for the most part anything from about 2 kilohertz downwards, and pretty much dipped out some at 230-ish, maybe 300, and some also down at the kind of like a 40 hertz, I think it is, or even lower than that, 36. So 36 36 hertz. I removed some of that out as well of the kick. I didn't mainly have to do that, but I just felt like it needed something to sit right in the mix, like I EQ'd it. So that's the kick. And then the snare, I've kind of just dipped out some of this really harsh stuff at 3, and just a little bit at 2 kilohertz, and just some of the really low end stuff that you don't really need on the snare, and that kind of made it sit right. So the secret in this particular mix, and what I'm trying to share with you, is the simple secret is EQ is one of your best tools that you can use. If you don't already know that, it's one of your best tools that you can use to clear up certain parts of your mix, or even control peaks on a certain instrument in the mix. So if you guys have any questions, hit me in the comments below. I just want to share this first secret simple tip that might help you guys obviously figure out certain things in your mix. Take away things if you don't get anything else out of this particular video. Just remember that the main key features of your track, so for example your kick, your 808, if that's the case, if you have an 808 or a bass drum, the two or three things that you have featured in your track, could be a piano or whatever it is, pay attention to those, and then try and use EQ to remove peaks out, and also maybe some of the low end that you don't need, if that's the case on that particular instrument, or if you do need to have that low end, don't remove it out, and make sure it's got a space to sit in the mix. So I hope you guys like this simple tips, secret tips I guess. But anyway guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Any comments, hit me up there. Always remember to like and subscribe on this channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.